How did your personal experience, role models in the past, how has that affected your stress level and understanding stress?
Well, you just put some more tension in the room. So let's see if we can deal with it. Let's wade our way through it.
Okay.
I have some people in my life, in my history, that have major impacts upon me.
Okay.
Major impacts. I would love to be able to sit here in front of you and say, well, when the test came, like a champion, I passed them all with flying colors.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. In fact, I failed many of them miserably.
Right.
I failed with flying colors. That's what I did. And many of those things happened because of past examples of people that I looked up to, past role models. Let's be real transparent. Is my paternal example, my father.
Mm-hmm.
My father's that dude is tough.
Mm-hmm.
He's tough. He's a tough dude,
Mm-hmm.
and he's made me the man that I am. And I
Good.
love him dearly, and I thank God for every aspect of him, because I do believe that, you know, when the word says that all things work together for good, I believe that.
Right.
I believe the Bible. And when I look at some of the things that have been working, you know, I try to figure out how's that going to work for good. But
Oh yeah.
I am starting to understand it better. My father, I don't know all of his pains. My
Right.
father's a very closed book, which created a toxic environment, you know, frankly, because if you don't communicate, toxicity develops. If you don't have an outlet, then it's like a cesspool. You know, it starts developing things that are not healthy. Bacteria develop. And so he didn't have that outlet. He would not talk. My father's from the old school. He would not talk about what was going on in his life. And I think that's one of the failures in our community. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Right.
But he was from that school.
Right.
And so I don't know all of his past pains, his past stresses, the things that were factors
That contributed to
that
his.
contributed to
Right.
his stress and his own poor decision making.
Right.
But I do know this: it had a profound effect upon me.
I understand. Yeah.
Some
That
of the things, and I don't blame him.
now that point you just made, I have to stop you there because you make a great point. He came from a certain school, and it's not just your father. A whole lot of, especially older guys, they just didn't. They just don't. Even if they had the feeling of I need to talk, they weren't going to do it.
That's right.
They just weren't going to do it. So I feel you on that. Even in my personal life, I got that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, because I know that now,
Yeah.
it makes life easier for me, Shannon. I didn't know that as a pubescent young boy.
I
I
got
didn't know that as a teenager. I didn't even know that really in my 20s. I didn't get an understanding of that until much later in life. I'm 57 years old now, and I understand it pretty good now, but it
Right.
hasn't been that long.
I got you.
And my relationship with my father did not start developing until I was in my 40s.
Yeah, I
My
understand.
real relationship with him,
Trust me. I know.
because I was at a place where I thought he didn't like me. I thought that he didn't want me around. He did everything for me. Let me be very clear. Everything. Bought me my first car. Started driving when I was 15. I mean,
All the tangibles.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of those things that father's supposed to do. He did all that, but I
Right.
just didn't feel like he liked me.
Wow.
And it was difficult. But as I grew older, I started understanding that he had stresses that I knew not of. He had push points in his life that were triggers that took him places that I could never understand as a child.
Yeah.
And I understand them as a man because now I'm pushing those same places. Now, did he help me get there? I don't know. But I do know that hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional. It's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. So, yeah, I've had many circumstances of that nature.
And the point that you make about, not feeling like he likes you, I personally can understand that one too. Sometimes it's put in a place where, like now you said in your 40s, y'all start developing and you learn certain things in your 20s and 30s. For me, you're ahead of me because I'm just now learning some things, even in the relationship with my own dad,
Okay.
there's some things there. So I feel you on that. I feel you heavily on it. And I don't just see it with me and you. I see it. That's why I wanted to do this subject. It can be a very painful spot. And sometimes if they don't know how to explain where they're coming from, it must be a difficult spot for them too, though, in a lot of cases.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
they don't, it's like being in a box and you don't know how to get out. You don't really know how to express, I love you, or maybe I didn't do everything right, all kind of stuff. If I may say it, I raised a daughter that's not my biological, but I was there to raise her. And here recently, I had to tell her, I did the best I could. There was no physical abuse or anything like that. But it's just, some things I couldn't share the way I was feeling or the stresses I felt. And me and her had a good conversation, at least I think we did, about it. And so sometimes you just have to get to a place where you can talk. And those guys just were not going to do it. They could just not going to do it. So I feel you bad.
My counseling professor in my master's class used to tell us about the difference between responsibility and respondability.
Elaborate on that. I like that.
He used to say that just because you're responsible for something doesn't mean you have the ability to respond to the thing that you're responsible for. And to your point, being in that box, I don't want to be in the box. I'm uncomfortable in the box. It's hot in here. I'm closed in. I feel like the walls are caving in on me, but I just don't know how to get out. And I can't blame you for not knowing. And that's I cannot blame a person for not knowing. And if our parents, our fathers, our grandfathers, our uncles that reacted improperly or unacceptably to us, if they didn't know, I can be angry if I want to. I can spend a lot of good years being angry.
Yeah.
Or I can say, I can't hold someone responsible for something they didn't have the respondability to do because they didn't learn it.
That's right.
I hear a lot of young guys angry with their fathers. You weren't there.
Yeah.
And Lord knows I want every father to be there.
Yes, indeed.
The problem of the absent father is huge. It's huge. And that's a whole nother topic. It's not just bad with men, but it's bad with girls. Daddy's little girl is gone now because daddy's gone. Because now little girls they've never had a chance to be daddy's little girl, so they don't know how to be treated by other people. Right. And they allow themselves to be disrespected. That's another discussion.
But it is, but maybe it's a little closer than we're saying because you don't know all the stresses of why he ain't.
That's the point that I'm pressing towards. Why wasn't he there?
Right.
What was the stress factor? What was the stress point
what's the stress factor
that kept him from being there? Okay. Mama stayed, but did Mama make it stayable for Daddy?
Wow. Yeah, man.
Did she make it stable for him? I'm glad she stayed. Somebody had to stay.
Yeah,
too many children are in the system. But what was the stress factor for Mama? What was the stress factor for Daddy?
That's right.
And so now, man, I remember, Shannon, when I was 19, and I acknowledged my call into the ministry. And I came home from California to preach after I was ordained. I was ordained. No, I was being licensed, actually. I was being licensed. And Dr. C.L. Carter at Shiloh, he was preparing me to preach my sermon, to get my license in front of the congregation, man. And after I preached, I looked up and my daddy was there.
Wow.
And
wow.
And so
That's awesome.
he walked up after I finished preaching all the way to the front of the church, up to the pulpit, and stood there and waited for me to get up and walk to him. And I'm getting teary-eyed now because I'm thinking about how I felt then.
Yeah.
And he looked up at me and he reached his hand out and shook my hand. And he said, I'm proud of you, but be serious about this.
Yeah.
That was the most emotional thing
that
my father had ever said to me.
Right.
And at that point, I saw a slight shift and a start down a road that changed my thinking. Maybe he does like me. Maybe he just didn't know how to like me.
Okay.
Maybe he didn't know how to show me that he liked me.
Right.
And the only other time that I felt anything close was when I used to pitch. It might be part of my problem with my arm. I used to pitch, and he got up one day and said, "Come on outside, let's throw some."
Yeah.
Man, I ran.
Just happened to be a part of it.
Man, my dad wants to do something with me. So went out there, man, and I'm thinking, he ain't got no catcher's mitt. You know, why is he gonna catch my heat? You know, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh man, yeah.
He was catching my balls like they wasn't nothing, man. Throwing them back to me. But that was my dad, you know. And you know, I didn't know. You know, my father and my mother divorced.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart because there was no greater two people on the planet than my father and my mother.
Right.
And together we were a family. That's how it was supposed to always be. They divorced after we all left home. You know, it wasn't until I was in my 40s.
Okay.
He and I had a talk. I would never let either one of them badmouth the other one to me.
I understand that.
I would never allow that. But he did talk to me about why it led to divorce.
I got you.
And it blew my mind because now me and my daddy, we can talk.
Yeah. And not only that, at that point you could handle it better because you probably had lived in your own life and was you know.
And I understood some of my choices.
Okay.
I said, oh, so you're like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it now. Yeah. Maybe I should have been trying to get closer to you sooner. But he wasn't allowing that back then. So
right.
But yeah, they do affect how I handle my stress.
Right.
But I've made some adjustments in how I handle my stress. I don't allow what he showed me to be the way that I handle my stress now. Because I have people that look to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a hurt person that hurts people.